Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's show is a true subscriber stories episode sent in by my subscribers over the last month or so, and some very interesting, some short encounters, but nevertheless just as terrifying. Do of course let us know what you think down below in the comments, guys. As ever, please do like and share. Your support is very much appreciated. And without further ado, let's get into tonight's first encounter, sent over by David. Hi DMT. I want to stress to you and the other followers of Dead Man Talking, I'm not a Dogman, werewolf lichen researcher. I have spent the past 47 years researching and pursuing the creature collectively referred to as Bigfoot. Dogman research and my interest in Dogman is relatively recent, extending back to January of either 2005 or 2006. I'm a retired professional Texas corrections officer, and I make my home in the piney woods of northeast Texas. As a corrections officer, I was trained to be observant of the activities around me. I know what I observed on that cold, damp, and it was a fine mist falling January morning. I have never forgotten the fear, however, that was there that morning. Over the past 12 to 13 years, I've not allowed it to consume me. I've tried to make personal fear and apprehension to be a positive motion. I found out as a CO, these things can help keep you safe in an institutional environment. I realise this is very boring to some, but I wish to share a part of my background. And no, I am not a veteran of any branch of military. If you do decide to use this narrative I'm about to send you, you have my permission to use the information in a rewriting of the encounter for dramatic purposes. Please remember, basically, my interest is in Bigfoot, which I've encountered several times. These are other stories though. Now, onward to the Dogman encounter, which I'll refer to as I encountered a snout-faced Bigfoot. In January of 2005 or 2006, my female domestic partner, I'll refer to her as LJ, decided to drive 45 miles from our home in Red River County, Texas, and investigate an area which the organisation I co-founded with my son, the Timberline Bigfoot Group, was actively researching and investigating Bigfoot activity. The lake was constructed by the US Army Corps of Engineers in the early 60s. There had been reported sightings in the area over the years. Our group had even cast several very good footprints in the woods surrounding the lake the year before. LJ and I had decided to return to the area where the weekend before we'd observed a willow tree being shaken violently down the eastern shoreline. We had no idea we'd need a weapon, camera, or any of the equipment our field teams usually carried into the field. I wasn't going to walk that far down the shoreline. I'd be in sight of the Ford pickup we owned. LJ had elected to remain in the truck while I went to look over at the willow tree and examine the ground around it. As we pulled into the primitive campground, we were met by two small dogs, which had apparently been dumped in an area by the folks who didn't want them. One of the dogs stayed near the pickup with LJ, the other walked down the shoreline with me. We were approaching the area of the willow tree when my four-legged friend suddenly stopped. He growled and faced at some higher ground. The hair on the back of his neck had bristled up, and his eyes were fixed on something in the tall dead weeds. I called to him and said, "Easy, buddy. You need to come over here with me before one of those big monkeys decides to snatch you up and make you lunch." The dog growled again, standing his ground. Then a much deeper, more guttural growl came from the weeds. Again I softly called to the dog. Then it rose from the weeds. I've estimated this creature to stand approximately 7 foot tall. I have no idea of weight. Its cold, black eyes were fixated on the dog, its jaws, salivating as it looked at the dog. I was scared. This creature had not even looked in my direction until I softly called the dog, and then it raised its head and fixed its eyes on me. I glanced behind me. I could possibly escape by going into the freezing cold water, but I had gave doubts as to the success of the gamble. I could make a mad dash to the truck, but I felt that if I began to run, it would pursue me, catch me, and surely kill me. Over the years I have been asked what it looked like. At the time, I thought what I was looking at was a Bigfoot which had a snout. Its snout, or muzzle, looked something like a German Shepherd's. I didn't even notice ears, and I never had an opportunity to observe its leg structure. I did notice its teeth though. Hell, I can't even tell you if it had hands or paws. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt this monster standing only a few feet away from me was, indeed, a killing machine. I took a back step, and the monster dropped down behind the weeds and began moving towards the pickup. I began backing towards the pickup also. The dog continued to stay between the monster in the weeds, stalking me, and myself. I heard LJ call out to me that there was something moving from the tree to tree, trying to get behind me. I took a glance in that direction, and yep, something was trying to flank me, to cut me off. I shouted to LJ and told her to crank the truck. I heard the pickup roar to life, with only a few feet between the pickup and the creature stalking me through the weeds. I glanced at the dog. "Dog!" I said nervously. "Let's bounce!" I turned and raced to the pickup. Both dogs raced into the open culverts. I was behind the wheel and drove us out the park and away. I drove to my son's home. He worked at the paper mill in Oklahoma and was just starting his 4 days off. I told him what had happened and how we'd managed to escape, and we made plans to go back the next morning with weapons, rescue the dogs, and try to decide what we had encountered. Whether it was some sort of Bigfoot, mutated perhaps, or something else entirely. On our return to the park, the dogs emerged from their hiding place and went down to where I had my encounter. The ground was frozen and did not yield any tracks. However, we did find where the creature had been either waiting to ambush unsuspecting dogs or hikers. We walked back to my son's pickup, loaded the dogs up, and left the park. The adventure ended with us finding the 2 dogs at home. We've been back in the area several times over the years, and we have noticed an absence of singing birds, or crickets, frogs, and squirrels gathering acorns under the large oak trees. The sight just produces the feeling of danger, of terror from time to time. Do I believe the creature I encountered was a Dogman, or some kind of mutated Bigfoot with an attitude problem? And what of the one trying to cut off my retreat? I know when I'm in this area now, I'm never alone, and I am armed. Respectfully submitted, David Holly. David Padre Holly. Now for a Skinwalker encounter, a short one, from a very dear subscriber, I believe wanted to stay anonymous. Hi DMT. This happened 11 months ago. Now for some background, I live in Texas Panhandle. One night in April 2017, I was texting my then girlfriend at the time. It gets pretty hot here in Texas, even during the springtime, so I had my window open so I can get a breeze in my room. We were texting about normal boyfriend-girlfriend stuff, when all of a sudden I heard what sounded like the old-timey radio static, and then I smelled rotten meat. I did something I soon would regret doing. I looked out of my window and saw a coyote standing 7 feet tall with a brownish grey fur with the most piercing yellow eyes I'd ever seen in my life. It was under a streetlight, so I saw every detail. It had no tail, and I instantly shut and locked every window and made sure every door was locked. I heard tapping on my window for the rest of the night. Then right before sunrise, it was gone. I asked one of my friends that is of Navajo descent. He said it was probably a Skinwalker. So he had me blessed the very next day. I haven't seen it since, and I'll keep you updated if that changes. For some background, my stepdad was a truck driver. He worked for Affiliated Foods, so he took loads to Kansas and New Mexico and Oklahoma and parts of Texas. He was able to have parts of the company with. Now back to the story. This happened 6 months ago, and my stepdad had to take a load to Kansas, and I wanted to go with him. This happened in Texoma, around 1 a.m, when it was pitch black outside. The only thing we could see was what was in the headlights. We were having one of our normal conversations, and then, next thing you know, we see a dog-like creature just standing, 7 foot tall, with yellow eyes run across the road. It had very grey fur with spots on the back of it and pointed ears with a long fluffy tail. We looked at each other like, what the hell was that? And the rest of the trip was uneventful, and we made it home safely. I've lived in a haunted house, and I'll take a ghost over that any day of the week. But that is another story. Hope you guys enjoyed those short but equally terrifying true cryptid encounters. Of course, please do let me know down below in the comments. As ever, please do like and share. And remember guys, above all, be safe, not sorry.